Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to anti-haul number 8. I love making these videos, but as always, if you are new to my anti-haul, let me give you the little rundown about the little rundown or the long rundown. I'm wordy, so we'll see how it goes, about how this video works. So in my anti-hauls, I like to focus on sharing with you guys things that I don't plan to buy, pre-order, or that I didn't back on Kickstarter, all that kind of stuff. And I also like to share with you the things from my own collection that I feel like work instead, or sort of scratch the itch for that same sort of thing. I think that it's easy for us to get wrapped up in wanting to acquire all the new things, myself included. I have an enormous collection, but I also want to be mindful and bring things in that I know that I'm going to use. So my focus in this series is sharing with you guys what I'm not going to buy, but also sharing with you what I do love and what I know I'll use instead. So that's how I like to frame this conversation. Couple disclaimers as per usual. I like to keep it kind. I think that it takes a lot of guts to put a creative work out into the world, whether it is a book, whether it is a tarot deck or an oracle deck or a piece of art or anything else that you are creating. So I have mad respect for all the creators that are out there, and a lot of this comes down, quite frankly, to personal taste, whether that is a cardstock thing, a type of art, the way something's depicted, how I think I'm going to personally use it. So it's never a slam on the creators or the creation itself. It's more just like me saying, this isn't going to work for me, or I don't think I need to bring this in, and here's what I'll use instead. So let's start off with category number 1, which is decks that I regret purchasing. And these are things that I brought in that I was excited to bring in, but that ultimately just didn't work for me. The first of these I want to share with you is this Notes from the Universe on Love and Connection. This is a 60 card deck by Mike Dooley. Now, full disclosure, I freaking love Notes from the Universe as a concept. Like, I used to get these as daily emails for years. I don't know if he still does these as daily emails. I said that weird. But Notes from the Universe are great. They're like these encouraging notes you would get in your email inbox, and he turned them into card decks, and I think that's awesome. The artwork is very sort of galaxy kind of inspired with words, and then on the back there's a little note from the universe, which I think is great. I just never reached for this. Like, ever. And I don't know if it's because it's like, no, this is Notes from the Universe on Love and Connection, so it's very sort of relationship kind of focused, or love kind of focused, but I just never reached for it. And one thing I think I've learned is that I don't typically work very well with two-sided decks. So that is decks that have something on both sides, as opposed to just like a card with a backing. So that might be just like an aesthetic thing. I'm not entirely sure, but I just never ever reached for this. So it just sat on my shelf collecting dust. So it is going to be rehomed. What do I love instead? My Affirmators Tarot. Okay, so maybe this isn't an entirely fair comparison because this is a tarot deck, whereas this is like an affirmation deck. But as far as like feel good, kind of fuzzy, you know, the universe has got me kind of energy, I think the Affirmators Tarot does such a great job. So if you haven't seen this deck, this is what the backings look like, by the way. Hello. This is a great cardstock. This cardstock feels very similar to the cardstock of the Tarot of the Divine, if you have that one, or if you've seen that one. At first glance, this deck can look a little pippish. Let me give you an example. Let's see if I can find one. Okay, like the 10 of Pentacles. This looks kind of pippish. But each one has a different animal companion, and the cards actually make sense. Let me see if I can find another pippish one as an example. Yeah, okay, like the 4 of Wands here. We have this like turtle who's on his back hanging out, chilling with the 4 wands. But like also, this message is very much about like pausing and like celebrating your accomplishments and recognizing how far you've come and that sort of thing. And the messages in the guidebook are very Notes from the Universe like. They're very affirming and positive. So if you wanted to work with it with the guidebook, the 4 of Wands in this case, let me hold the card back up, says, okay, it says, welcome to your personal spring, where your endless slog through god-awful boring days is finally coming to an end. So roll out the champagne cannons and buy yourself a greeting card. This is the moment to celebrate all your accomplishments and relish the beauty of a happy, stable life. You've come through tough times, but you can rest easy for a while on your metaphysical patio furniture. Whatever it is, you did it. So congratulations, whoever you are, on whatever you've done, however you've managed to do it. The cosmic rays are shining on you, and metaphors don't adhere to earthly schedules. So feel free to bask in the glow as long as you want. And then there's an affirmation that says, I love myself, I honor myself, and I celebrate myself. I now pronounce me self and self, which is really cute. So that's what the guidebook is like in this deck. And I think it's just really great if you want that little like kind of hug deck. You want a message that's really going to affirm, but also be true to the tarot. So this is a really fun all-rounder kind of deck that I think works. You could use this like an oracle deck. You can use it like a tarot deck. I like it a lot. So I don't really need decks like this when I have this necessarily. So this is going to find a new home, but I love my Affirmators Tarot. Next up, one that I regret purchasing, the Radiant Wise Spirit Tarot. I could not bond with this deck. Now, to be completely fair, I am not a big classic Rider-Waite-Smith user to begin with. I love my Rider-Waite-Smith Centennial, which I have in full size and in a tin. The Radiant Wise Spirit, in theory, I should love. I love the coloring. I love the backing, but it's so dang glossy that I feel like I can't use it for videos because it's so reflective that it's really hard to bring out onto my table. More than that though, there's some of the line work in this deck is so chunky that it's actually distracting. I don't know if I can find any good examples off the cuff here. And this is not something I would normally even notice, but I feel like look at the outlines on him. Like they're just really, really chunky. Now, if this deck were matte, I would probably forgive that because I really love the way that the backgrounds have like gradients in them and have this like almost like vintagey kind of look. But man, the thick line, oh, here we go. This is one of the ones that bugs me the most. This is probably the worst one, the Eight of Cups. Look at how chunky the lines are. It drives me batty. So I don't reach for it. It's been living in its box. It looks nice on a shelf. I had it on a shelf behind me for a while, but like I don't need a deck to be decor, right? I want it to be usable. So this one just isn't for me. And I was like, well, what do I love instead? Because I always talk about my Centennial and that one counts, but I decided to borrow something from, where am I putting this? There. Borrow something from Peggy's collection because I feel like if I want to shake things up and I want something other than my Centennial to use in a video, I can borrow her giant Rider-Waite. Have you seen this? So this is a lot of fun because it is massive. So for comparison, let me just grab one of those cards from the Radiant Wise Spirit. So here's a standard size tarot card. And here is the giant Rider-Waite. Look at how humongous. They're almost as big as my whole head. These cards are huge. Why is there like one backwards in here? Oh no, the title card got shuffled in. So these are pretty fun. I feel like if I wanted to have like cards to show on videos or anything that were like standard Rider-Waite-Smith, and not my Centennial. Oh, Peggy shuffled this. Of course, there's reversals in here. I actually work with reversals a lot of times too now when I'm working with standard decks. But anyways, this would be fun to reach for, right? And this is actually really affordable. It's another mass market deck. Little hard to shuffle because it's gigantic. I mean, it literally calls itself the Giant Rider-Waite. But I thought I could always shake things up with that if I wanted to, right? So I really don't need another version of the Rider-Waite-Smith at this point. So those are two decks, the Radiant Wise Spirit and the Notes from the Universe decks that I guess I do regret purchasing or bringing in because they don't get any use. Let's talk now about mass market decks that I am not going to buy. So there has been some interesting things coming out lately, and one of those things that has come out recently is the Tarot of Light and Shadow. I will put photos somewhere on the screen so you can take a look at what that looks like. But the Tarot of Light and Shadow is a dual deck kit, which is really cool. There's like a light colored and a dark colored version of essentially the same deck. The artwork looks like it does vary card to card in some places and is also the same in other places, or like mirror images of each other. And the concept of this is really cool and got me thinking, because I was like, oh, that's neat, because you could like do a 6-card spread and you could have like the light cards be the top 3 cards and the dark cards be the bottom 3. And then you could read like light and shadow in a reading. How cool is that? And then I was like, I have like a million decks. Okay, I don't have a million decks, but I have a lot of decks. Do I need a deck specifically designed for that purpose to do that kind of reading? No, I don't. So I'm not going to buy it. But I realized I do have a couple of decks in my own collection that would make a fun pairing for something like that, because one is very light and one is very dark. So I thought if I was going to do a reading like that, a light and shadow reading, I would use my Light Seers Tarot. This one has that, right? That like, what is light? What is conscious? What is the, I don't know, what is the surface level of stuff? What is the light side of the emotions? I feel like this deck would do a really good job at that. I mean, don't get me wrong. This deck also shows, is a balanced deck and does have light and shadowy cards, but I think this would make a really good kind of counterbalance to a darker deck below it, such as my Deviant Moon Tarot. Now, can you imagine doing a reading where you have like the Deviant Moon Tarot, oops, this is the borderless one, the Deviant Moon Tarot on the bottom, and then the Light Seers Tarot as the light? Like, this is very light and shadow, this pairing, right? Like, come on, right? It's not just me, is it? Anyways, I'm sure there's other decks that I could do this with also, but these two came to mind immediately as like, I could use these two and do a light and shadow reading. I could totally do that. So I'd be curious to hear from you guys down below. Do you have two decks you could use light and shadow, like that you would pair for a reading like that? Because I think that'd be really fun. I may have to offer something like that on my site at some point, because I think that'd be a really neat reading to do. So next up in mass market decks that I'm not going to buy is the Intuitive Wisdom, I think is what it's called. I'm going to refer, yeah, Intuitive Wisdom Color Your Own Tarot Deck. I got so many messages about this because in my last anti-haul, I think like pretty much the same day that I posted my last anti-haul, a video went up by, I think, Schiffer Red Feather, talking about their new Color Your Own Tarot deck that is out right now called Intuitive Wisdom Color Your Own Tarot. Okay, so I was really excited for like a minute, and then I started looking at the cards and I was like, nope, for two reasons. And I realized that I may be very incredibly difficult to please. I still want Johanna Basford to make a tarot deck, so Johanna, are you out there? If you're watching this, please make a tarot deck. But I think what I realized is that I'm very picky about not only my tarot decks, but also the way I like to color. So actually, I'm very hard to please. I don't think it's just in these two areas, but it's definitely in these two areas. And there were two things that jumped out at me that I realized wouldn't be a good fit for me. There are very detailed borders on all of the tarot cards in the Intuitive Wisdom Color Your Own Tarot. And actually in some other Color Your Own Tarots I found, they also have these very detailed borders. And my problem with that is this. In a tarot deck, I would feel very strongly that all of the Cups cards, for example, their borders would have to be colored the exact same way. And like all of the Wands cards and so forth. And that would get really boring because I would be coloring 14 cards per suit where the borders all have to be colored exactly the same way. And this, no, I don't want, no. No, I want 78 different cards without these really specifically detailed borders. And I know why they're doing that, because a really popular way to color is these very small detailed images that you just like, that gets repetitive. A lot of people love that about coloring. I am not one of those people. I don't like the really super like repetitive kind of coloring. I like it to be varied, and I also like to have some space to like blend colors and yeah, so I'm very picky, and that deck wouldn't work for me. But I did come across something really fun on Book Outlet that I picked up that I thought could maybe, oh my gosh, I literally just about said scratch the itch, and then I realized what this was, and it's an unintentional pun, just so you guys know. But this is the Magical Tarot Scratch and Reveal 78 Tarot Art Cards. The reason I got excited when I saw this on Book Outlet is because I've already seen all of these cards thanks to Julie over at Peekaboo Rose, who had gotten this, I think, as a gift and actually ended up scratching all of the cards. They look like this, so I've punched some of them out already. I'll probably trim them when they're done, but I've punched them out. I haven't scratched them yet, but they're like, you scratch them and then you reveal the artwork underneath, right? So that's how they start, but the full deck is in here. And then when you're done, you have cards that are like these, right? And it's, I believe, a pip deck, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so like you can kind of see the Swords card being scratched there. But I believe Julie has a full walkthrough of these cards on her channel. If she does, I will link it below. I'll try to find a video that talks about it. But I thought this was really fun. So if I want to get creative with tarot, and this cost me, I think brand new, it's supposed to, well, this is new, but It's typically $19.99 US, $12.99 pounds sterling, I think, or $25.99 Canadian. And I got it on Book Outlet for like $8. So like, I feel like, okay, this is fun. And it comes with a little scratching tool. So I'm going to just give up on the idea of a color your own tarot deck until Johanna Basford makes one. Johanna. If you guys don't know who that is, Johanna Basford is the artist who created the Secret Garden, Magical Forest, In the Ocean, like coloring books that are breathtaking and wonderful. And anyways, if she made a coloring deck, a coloring your own tarot deck, I'd be all over it. But until then, I'm going to scratch the itch with this one. So the other mass market deck I've decided I'm not going to buy is the Arcana of Astrology by Claire Goodchild. And this is a big deal for me because actually the independent version of the Arcana of Astrology sat on my wish list for a good couple of years. And I just never pulled the trigger. I think the cards are stunning. I will have photos, obviously. These cards are beautiful, and the mass market edition, in my opinion, is even prettier. It's really pretty. And I'm not going to lie, I really gave this deck some serious side-eye when first Danny brought this home and did a walkthrough, and then Dawn Michelle did. And I'm like, you guys are killing me because part of me really wants to buy it, but I don't need it. And this is the thing, is I have another astrology deck. I have actually, this is the one astrology deck that I have kept, and it is the Astro Soul Oracle deck. There are a couple of really beautiful independent astrology decks, and I feel like for me, I only need one. So I have had and loved the Living Wheel astrology cards, and I have and love the Astro Soul Oracle deck. These are both amazing independent astrology decks. If you have neither of these, the Arcana of Astrology is gorgeous. Go get you some. But for me, I already have this, and I feel like it would be wasted to have two because I feel like these decks are fairly limited in their use for me. I like to look at them. I like to study with them. And this one I really enjoy, and I believe the current edition actually of Astro Soul Oracle deck has like a holographic foiling on the cards, but these are just really aesthetically beautiful. Living Wheel is also aesthetically beautiful. The only reason this ended up winning out in my collection is because a lot of the cards have keywords on them, which I find really helpful. So like the aspects, for example, so sextile have some keywords. Integration, cooperation, tools, skills, ingenuity, harmony, and empathy. Now, not all of the cards have keywords, but a lot of them do. So like the signs don't. The aspects do. Lunar eclipse, solar eclipse, these do. The moon phases do. And then I think the planets, oh no, the houses also do have a little write-up. And I really like that because I'm using this mostly as a study deck, having those extra little prompts or keywords on the cards actually really helps. And this is a pretty deck. It's pretty. So the Arcana of Astrology, objectively, I think is prettier than this one as far as the artwork goes, but there's no keywords anywhere on the cards. So this one would still be the one I would tend to reach for just for ease of use. So there's no point bringing it in just to ignore it. But it's beautiful and it's mass market, so it's now affordable. This was not as affordable. Neither was Living Wheel. So those are both these are both beautiful, beautiful independent astrology based decks. So if I was getting one right out of the gate and I didn't really know more about what I wanted, I might lean towards Arcana of Astrology for affordability and for just really pretty artwork, or the Living Wheel for just being stunning in every way. But this one has been the most useful for me so far. So I don't really want to bring another one in because I have limited use for the one that I have. So that is the reason for that. But that Arcana of Astrology, y'all, it's real pretty. So if you are drawn to it and you don't already have an astrology deck, maybe take a look at it. And the guidebook looks like it's really good as well. And so you can check out Danny's walkthrough and Dawn Michelle's walkthrough for more details. And Dawn Michelle's video also has a side-by-side with the independent version of the Arcana of Astrology. So check those out, but not for me. Not going to scoop them up. So with that said, let's talk about independent decks that I'm not going to buy. Probably. It's hard though, you guys. It is hard. So independent decks I'm not going to buy. The first one I want to talk about is the Journey of the Sacred Bee. I've struggled with this one more than I probably should have because I'm not big on bees. Like, I think they're super cute And I don't mind them when they're mixed in with oracle decks, but I don't have any kind of special relationship with the bee. Now, on the other hand, if somebody had created a similar deck called Journey of the Sacred Ladybug, then it's all over and I'm getting that deck because I freaking love ladybugs, and they have special meaning for me. But bees, not so much. I think they're great, but not attracted to bees. That said, the artwork in this deck, you guys, is spectacular. It is so beautiful. I'm so attracted to the layers and the like collaginess and the colors. And so many of you have like tagged me in posts or commented that I would love this deck. And I think you're right. I think I would love it. But would I reach for it enough? And I think just the fact that it's bee themed means that I would not necessarily connect like a lot of others might. For example, I love MJ Coulinane's Crow Tarot, but I don't currently have any special relationship with crows, so I don't tend to reach for it a ton, even though I think it's gorgeous. And I think the Sacred Bee would fall into that same kind of space, and I don't want to bring something in knowing it will not get enough attention in my already large and overwhelming collection at times. So I was trying to think about what artwork kind of reminds me of that artwork enough and makes it okay to not pick up the Journey of the Sacred Bee. And it is my texture tarot. So this was the one that I was like, okay, well, I have the texture tarot, so breathe, Lisa, it's okay. The collage work in the texture tarot is right up my alley. It's got lots of color, lots of layers. Like I feel like the Sacred Bee also had a lot of layers. I love this deck. It hasn't seen a lot of love in my collection recently, or I haven't really been talking about it as much. So I've actually moved it to my favorites rack recently. I adore this deck. I do not adore the cardstock because I have to shuffle it very carefully, but I love the artwork enough that I'm able to look past the cardstock, but it is fabulous. I love this deck. And I think having this makes me feel a little bit better about not having the Journey of the Sacred Bee, but like, this is really pretty. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it, but you guys are right when you say that you think I would love it, because I do really love it. I don't think I'd reach for it. And I literally think it's because it's themed around bees, and that's not really my jam. I don't hate bees, so it's not like it was a spider deck and I was like, you know, but it's like, I'm not big on bees. No. Anyway, other independent decks I'm not going to purchase. So I'm not going to purchase the Medieval Europe Tarot. And this is another one that I really agonized about for a while before finally landing on, okay, I'm not going to buy it. Now, Dustin got it and then told me and Danny about it and was like, Danny, you'll love it. And then I kind of started to think I loved it. I watched Danny's walkthrough of it. I watched Dustin talk about it. I think he also did a walkthrough of it. It's really quirky and fun, and part of what attracts me to it is because I feel like it's what I wanted what was that other deck called? The Manuscript of Initiations Tarot. It's what I wanted that deck to be, but the Manuscript of Initiations Tarot was terrible quality, super thin, horrible cardstock, and the Medieval Europe Tarot has this like thick, glorious cardstock and this really nice tuck box, and like production quality, it's really nice. I don't like the pops of red in the titles. That annoys me. And the thing that Danny loves about that deck is it's like really weird cats everywhere, and that doesn't speak to me at all. But I love the idea that it's like kind of manuscript illumination style artwork, and it's like kind of quirky and weird. I like that. And I think part of it was that I wanted to love it the way that Dustin and Danny loved it, because our aesthetics are always so different. And I think this one I just really wanted to love, and I just could not get on board with it. And I wanted to, like I really badly wanted to. And again, it looks like it's beautiful production value. It's really unique. It seems really special. But I was like, Lisa, be honest with yourself. Like, are you going to actually use this and be excited to use this? And I was like, no, probably not. But I was like, what do I have that could scratch that itch instead? And just for fun, I was like, well, Lisa, you have Mystic Masters. I had to talk about this one. I think when it comes to like decks that feel like they tap into something older, while this deck is not medieval, it's like 17th, 18th, I think, centuries art. This is Danny's deck. And let's be honest, part of the reason I think I wanted to love the Medieval Europe Tarot is because I was like, but Danny and Dustin love it. And this deck, I definitely genuinely love. And I don't love it just because Danny made it. And I thought that was going to be the thing. To be completely honest, I was like, is this my style? And it's not the kind of deck I would typically reach for. There is something really unique about the way that this whole thing came together, the way that Danny put it together, and the way that she added the touches that she added. And I get it. And I didn't think I was going to. So when I'm having one of those moments where I'm like, man, I don't have a lot in common with Danny and Dustin as far as deck tastes go, I think of this deck and I'm like, wait a minute, I love this deck. I genuinely love this deck. It is a potent reader. It works beautifully in my magical workings. I used it when I did a really involved magical working for Dawn. There's a video for that on this channel. It's a really great deck, and it does make me feel that sense of like, okay, sometimes Danny, Dustin, and I are actually all on the same page. It just doesn't happen a lot. And I love this deck. Truly, truly love it. So I was like, well, I don't need the Medieval Europe Tarot. I have Mystic Masters. And if you haven't seen Mystic Masters, please do check it out. It's stunning. And it's all made from engravings from this, like I said, 16th and 17th centuries, if I remember correctly. The associations and the scenes that are depicted in these cards are gorgeous, and the extra elements of texture and collage that Danny added just bring it to life. And it's a special, special deck. And it's one of those things where, you know, I kind of know from just, I guess, being behind the scenes that decks like this made in small runs from independent creators are not often around a long, long time. So don't sleep on it. If you want it, scoop it up. Okay, sorry, this is an anti-haul. I'm not trying to tell you to buy stuff, but that one's special though. So I feel like I can, but anyways, okay. I'm going to get back on track with actually anti-hauling things now, but I do love my Mystic Masters. I do. The other independent deck that I decided I wasn't going to buy is the Morning Calm Oracle. I will have pictures of this one up in the cards, on the screen for you. This deck is really pretty. And I think most of the things I have on this list I was tempted by this month. In some way or another, I was tempted by these decks and have ultimately decided not to buy them. The Morning Calm Oracle is really up my alley in a lot of ways. But I also recently pre-ordered the new edition, or the new redone version, reprint of the Seeds of Shakti Oracle. And I have been lusting after the Seeds of Shakti Oracle for a while now. And the fact that that is now coming back, I feel like that deck actually kind of fills the same space that the Morning Calm Oracle would fill for me. And so I don't need both. Now, I don't have the Seeds of Shakti deck in hand yet, so I don't 100% know how we're going to get along together once it's actually here and I'm working with it, but I feel like they're close enough. The two decks and the way that I would use them are close enough that it doesn't make sense for me to bring in one in that space when I know I've got another one coming that's kind of in that space. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like I can pass on Morning Calm Oracle, enjoy my Seeds of Shakti Oracle when it comes in, and then we'll see. We'll see from there. But it is real pretty, that Morning Calm Oracle. It's pretty. Let's talk now about decks I'm not going to pre-order. So more and more I find it's easier for me in general not to pre-order things, but there are a few things that have caught my attention that I thought I would at least talk about. So the first one of these is the Disney Villains deck. Now, I'm agreeing to not pre-order this. I am not agreeing to not purchase it, but I'm pretty sure this one is not going to ultimately be for me. We'll see how it comes out. The last couple decks by this same creator have been either Pip decks or a mix of Pip and Scenic Minors, which are not really my jam. So I've already anti-hauled the Nightmare Before Christmas Tarot, which is by the same creator. This creator is also working on a Labyrinth Tarot. Now it's clear that this creator has now a Disney license, so we can probably expect several Disney-owned type themes coming out from this creator. I'm a little concerned at the pace at which these decks are coming out, because it does make me wonder if things are getting rushed or pushed too quickly. We won't know until it's out. But I am nervous that the Disney villain deck will be Pips in the minors, or that I just won't jive with it. So I don't want to pre-order it sight unseen. I'm going to wait till it comes out, watch some flip throughs. I'm going to see what I think of the whole deck before I jump in on that one, because I would hate to pre-order it, get it in, and then be really disappointed. So we'll see. In the meantime, though, from my own collection, when I think Disney villains and I think of the kind of like, I don't know, sass and snark I feel like Disney villains would bring, I was like, what do I have in my own collection that's got that? And then I was like, my Bohemian Gothic tarot has got some of that like kind of dark kind of snark and sass. So I've got this. I don't necessarily need the Disney villains. If you haven't seen, now this deck is currently out of print. It is a Baba Studios deck. I almost rehomed this deck, and many of you were instrumental in me realizing I needed to not rehome this deck, but it has a ton of personality, a lot of sass. It's obviously fully scenic all the way through, and it's beautiful, and I love this deck. So do I need a Disney villain deck? Probably not. When it comes out, if it's gorgeous, will I pick it up? Probably. Am I still waiting for the Little Mermaid tarot? Definitely. That and Lilo and Stitch would be ones that would potentially get me jumping. But we'll see. We'll see what comes out. I mean, I feel like if Disney Villains is coming out, then isn't Disney Heroes next? Also, I feel like Disney Villains might be too limited. Like maybe this creator needs to do like just a general Disney tarot. Or like, what if there was a Beauty and the Beast tarot? Or like, I don't know. There's so many places that could go. We'll see what happens. But this one will scratch the itch for now for any kind of like dark, snarky sassiness that I feel like I might get from Disney Villains. Besides, it's only in pre-order status right now. I don't remember when it's coming out, but I'm not at risk of needing to like make a decision on that anytime soon. But for now, I'm deciding not to buy it. The next one I've decided not to pre-order is the Magic of Unicorns Oracle deck by, is it Diane? Yeah, Diane Cooper. I'm picky about unicorns, like I'm picky about coloring decks, only more so. Like, so I feel like I can't pre-order unicorn decks like in general. I do have a lovely unicorn oracle that I've had for a while that I love, and it is the Oracle of the Unicorns. This is what the backing looks like. And this deck is real pretty. I love it. It's a lot of mixed art from various sources that's all mashed together into an oracle, and I don't even mind it. I really like the keywords. I love the unicorns in this deck. This scratches the itch for a unicorn oracle deck for me. So until the the Magic of the Unicorns oracle is out and I can see all the cards, I won't really know if it's one I'm interested in scooping up. Probably not. I don't necessarily even reach for this unicorn oracle all that much. But I have to have it because I'm obsessed with unicorns. Do you know what I mean? So if the next one, if this Diane Cooper deck is really good, I might scoop it up, but I definitely don't want to pre-order it. So we'll wait and see. It's probably going to be a no. And the last deck in this category of decks I'm not going to pre-order, and I'm mentioning this one mostly so I can share with you the thing I have from my own collection because I'm a brat, but the Vlad Dracula Tarot is currently on pre-order status on Amazon, and I'm sure other booksellers as well. This looks cool, but I recently scored, and I haven't done a walkthrough or anything of this because I'm probably going to do a full deep dive into this deck in the fall. But I managed to find locally in my community a copy of Robert M. Place's Vampire Tarot that is currently out of print. I'm really pleased about it too. I love Robert M. Place's decks, but this deck especially, I may have to round the corners on this one because it's very sharp at the corner. But this deck, this is what the backings look like. This deck is based on, a lot of the deck is based on Bram Stoker's Dracula. So I've also ordered a copy of Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I will probably read the book and study this deck in the month of October. That's like my loose plan. Look at this Lover's card. This deck does not pull punches, and I'm real excited about it. Like, really excited about it. So I don't need another Dracula deck. I mean, I am covered. Look at this freaking Hermit card. It's so good. Like, are you kidding? Love the Fate card. I mean, I really enjoy Robert M. Place's art style as well. Look at the sun. Vampires on fire. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it, to be honest. And the book with this deck is like nothing to sneeze at. Like it is a chunk. It is a chunk. And I've done a little, like some preliminary looking at the book, and it's got a lot of substance, which I am not surprised by because I've read Robert M. Place's big chunky book, which is called something Neoplatonism and Hermeticism and tarot, and it's huge. I've read it cover to cover. It's one of my tarot book reading accomplishments that I'm incredibly proud of. It was actually pretty easy to read, surprisingly. The title sounds super intimidating, but it was actually pretty easy to read, and it was really cool. But I really respect what Robert M. Place has contributed to the tarot world, and I'm really excited to have such a substantial deck to work with in the darker half of the year, particularly as we get closer to Halloween. So this is probably going to be my focus deck for October. I don't need no Vlad Dracula deck because I have this one. But not to be mean, because this is super out of print right now. Maybe it'll come back. Maybe Robert M. Place will reprint it. That would probably be good. But in the meantime, I have that, and I got it for like an incredibly reasonable price locally from someone in my community, and I feel very lucky. So happy to have that. Don't need Vlad Dracula. Okay. That's it for decks I'm not going to pre-order. Let's have a little discussion about a couple of Kickstarters I am not going to back. And I struggled with both of these. In fact, I feel like I kind of tortured myself this time, because sometimes in the anti-haul it's like this is a definite no, and I feel like this time on this anti-haul a lot of this stuff I really had to think about. And one of those is the Wandering Star Tarot on Kickstarter. I almost impulse backed this deck like 3 different times. I actually really love it, and I make no guarantees that when it's out I might, if I still want it, I may pick it up. But I've managed to hold off for now. But I really, really like it. And I actually really struggled with finding something in my collection that really scratches the itch. And to be completely honest, I don't think even the one that I've picked fully does. I'll have some pictures, obviously, of the Wandering Star Oracle up on either side or whatever. But there's a few things I love about this. I love the art style. More than that, I love the little borders with the keywords that go around on the cards. I think it's really smart. There's something that feels very empowering about this particular combination of like art and keywords, and I really like it. I really like it. But when it was backing, I had backed I think something else, and I was like, you know, I need to pare back. I need to ease up. I need to not be so trigger happy on the Kickstarters, so I'm trying not to be. But this one's really good looking. It really looks good. So I will definitely be watching walkthroughs when this deck comes out to see what I think. And I may have to take the plunge at some point, but for now I'm holding off. But it looks really good. It looks really good. The closest I could come out of my own collection, and I think I just had to pick a deck I really love to like talk myself off the ledge, if you know what I mean, is the Sasarai Bito Tarot by Stasia Burrington. Do I think this is anything even remotely similar artistically? No. I don't know what I was thinking when I picked this. Besides, like I said, I think I had to pick something that I really loved in order to like calm myself down a little bit so that I wouldn't, you know, make a hasty decision. And this deck is beautiful, and I do love it. And if I had to pick, and I think this is kind of what I was thinking, if like I had to pick between this deck or the Wandering Star Oracle or Wandering Star Tarot, this deck would win, because I really do deeply love this deck. But I mean, it's not really a comparison like most of mine are. It doesn't really scratch the itch because they're different. But I do think I would love this deck, or continue to love this deck more. And that's something else I'm trying to think of too, is not even like decks that like fill the same niche, but I'm starting to get to a point with my collection size, or I'm kind of at a point with my collection size where if I'm not ready to let something go, like if I don't love something more than something I already have that I'm willing to let go, then I probably don't want to bring it in. In other words, I'm not strictly in a one in, one out kind of place, but I'm sort of thinking in that way. Like, okay, well, if I bring this in, is there something that I like less that I would let go? Because I'm kind of at that place where I have so many decks that I don't want to get overwhelmed. So I have to really think through things and go like, is this really adding something? Can I do without it? Rather than just, do I want it or do I have something in the same niche? You know what I mean? So I'm trying to be even more mindful than I have been before. And in 2021, my word of the year is refine. And I'm trying really hard this year to be even more mindful and even more self-aware, so that I don't just like bring things in because like, oh, that's pretty, and then like it sits there and collects dust because I have other things that I also love that I may love slightly more. So I'm trying to be really careful about that. And that's the main reason I think I didn't take the plunge on this deck, even though I really wanted to. And one more that I decided not to scoop up, and that is the Love Story Oracle. This was another one I had a hard time with because I love Deja Druid's art style so much. So much. And, but I had two decks by Deja Druid previously. I had the My Quality Time Self-Care cards, which was the first Deja Druid Oracle deck I ever brought into my collection. And I've also since acquired the Personal Power Oracle deck by Deja Druid. The thing is, the Love Story Oracle is everything I love about Deja Druid's art and then applied to like cards for love and relationship readings. I'll be honest, I do enough client readings that having an oracle deck that focuses exclusively on love and relationship readings is incredibly enticing because I love Deja Druid's art style. I like the theme. I feel like I would use it a lot. But again, I'm trying to not be as impulsive. So I'm not backing it on Kickstarter. I've decided to wait. It looks like it's fun. I think it's funded by now. I can't remember. I haven't checked at the time I'm filming this. I haven't checked. But I may get it in the future if I still feel like I really want that. Now I have Affirmator's Love and Relationships in my collection, which is an love and relationship themed kind of oracle deck. But Affirmators is kind of its own thing and it's got a lot of text on the cards. Whereas my Personal Power Oracle, which is this one by Deja Druid, just potent little images with small keywords. I love this deck a lot. It's a wonderful, empowering little deck. And I know that the Love Story Oracle is going to be just this good and themed around love and relationships. And I loved every image I saw. And I'm having a hard time talking myself out of backing this one. I'm pretty sure my window has closed by now. But regardless, I decided to say no to myself and wait. So I'm waiting. And I find that most of the time, and I don't know if you guys are the same way, but I find that most of the time, if I just wait, if I just don't be in a big hurry, then if later I do want it, I feel like I've made a much more conscious, mindful decision. And by that point, if I do decide I want it, I feel really good about the decision because I know I didn't rush to do it. I didn't let FOMO or fear of missing out drive the purchase decision. I sat with it for a bit to decide. And I think that is sometimes the danger of Kickstarter and other crowdfunding or pre-order windows or things like that, is that we're afraid that if we don't back it during that 30-day or 45-day period we have to back it, that we're going to miss out. We may not miss out on the deck, but we may feel like we're going to miss out on the experience of kickstarting it and being in that first group, and that can be really enticing. But at the same time, I'm trying really hard to step back and go, okay, do I need to jump on the bandwagon at this particular moment? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. And a lot of times the decks that I really want on Kickstarter are not at risk of not getting funded. And I think if there was a deck on Kickstarter that I thought I really, really liked and that I didn't think was going to be funded, or that I wanted to really make sure I was helping to fund, that might be different. But most of the time, I feel like the decks I'm drawn to on Kickstarter are already funded by the time I even find them. So it's not a matter of if I don't contribute, this project won't happen. It's more a matter of wanting to be first in line versus not, versus taking a step back and really thinking about it. And that's one of the things that this anti-haul series and my Say Yes to the Deck series are about. It's giving me an opportunity to step back, take a breath, think about it, make a conscious, mindful decision. So that's what I'm really working to do. So I think I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay with not backing Wandering Star, with not backing the Love Story Oracle, and just waiting and seeing. Just waiting and seeing. And if I still want it when it comes out, I'll probably buy it. But I don't have to buy it right now. And I think that helps a lot. Sometimes even just sleeping on something or thinking about it for a few days or putting a reminder in your phone to check it out in a week from now, those kinds of things can slow you down and take away that feeling of pressure or I must decide right now. And then we often make better choices, I think. Even if we ultimately decide to get the thing, we'll have thought it through differently, probably a little better, and we'll probably feel more confident about our decision. So at least that's been my experience. Anyways, I am rambling. I hope you guys enjoyed this anti-haul. Please be sure and click the like button if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new here to hang out with me for lots of talk about all things tarot, oracle, divination, magic, witchy stuff, sometimes books, and other things I feel like sharing here in this space. We talk about a lot of self-worth related topics here also, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you hit the little bell so you're notified of my future videos and my live streams. As always, if you want to book a one-on-one tarot reading with me, you can always do that over at supportivetarot.com. Thank you so much, and may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye, guys.